they'll be walking. So we want to talk about what happens when the kids walk in on you having sex. Here's a great clip from Modern Family to show you how the scenario goes.
3, 2,
No!
I'm sorry.
Nothing's happening!
Oh my God.
Yeah, our kids walked in on us. We were, as they say, having sex.
That's not a euphemism, Phil. That's exactly what we were doing. Having sex. Our children are downstairs right now, and they're probably traumatized.
Oh, come on. I'm sure it's not that bad.
I can still see it. I can't believe that just happened.
What were they doing?
Nothing.
Whatever it was, it looked like Dad was winning.
It. They were doing it.
Please welcome Dr. Karyn Gordon.
Oh my goodness, it was so funny.
It's an interesting scenario.
Yes.
And, you know, many of us have been through it. So what do you do? What is your first instinct, your first reaction, your response if this happens?
So I got to tell you a little backstory of how this segment actually came about. Is that this
Okay.
happened to Brent and I in August.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I was telling a couple of my girlfriends. They're like, oh, you've got to do that as a segment. Because it really kind of raised the issue. Like, what do you do?
What'd you
What
do?
do you do? So what happened was, and I got Brent's permission because my husband's a little bit more shy. So I'm like, so anyway, so it was happened at the cottage. We were in our room. And then all of a sudden, you know, we look up and there's my one son just staring at us. And he was 6.
Silently?
Silent. Okay, so we don't know how long he was there for. And I'm just like, oh! And then Brent is like, okay, let's go downstairs. So he took downstairs, and then he said very honestly, Daddy, what were you doing with Mommy?
Oh, no.
And, you know, we had nothing planned. Like, this is why you got to think about this. You got to think about what your response is going to be. And he's like, oh, I just was giving your mom a really big hug. Oh, we love giving big hugs. So that's our response, okay? So the key thing is you got to think about ahead of time with what. And I mean, the truth is, he was giving me a hug.
Yes, it was
Okay,
a
and it was a
hug of
big hug.
Big one.
hug. So, so the first step is you've got to really think about what you're going to say.
Yeah, plan
Because
this
you got to
before
kind of plan it.
happens.
Because for some people it's not going to happen, but we have kind of a bit of an open concept place, so we have to think about what we're going to do about doors and locks and stuff.
Yes.
So that's kind of thinking more practical. But I had a client. I mean, she was 10 years old, and this is at our counseling center. And she very honestly, she was all traumatized about something. And when we started talking, found out that she had actually walked in on her parents having sex, and was quite scared about it because her mom was screaming. Now she didn't know that she was it was a playful, happy scream. It was a happy scream.
Yeah.
But you know, she didn't know, and she hadn't told her parents. So the poor thing was actually holding it all in.
And then it's shrouded in shame. And you
Yes.
start to associate
Yes.
this act with shame
Yes.
when really it's just, your parents have sexual lives too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They just do.
And it's one of those things that for a lot of kids, it's kind of like, ooh, really?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind
There's
of
something about it, right?
So so we asked our beautiful audience here in terms of has it actually ever happened to you? And Jackie, maybe just put your hand up, Jackie. She's right there. Okay, so she said that it's happened all the time to her.
Yeah.
That yeah, there she is. Okay, so she said Matt, her youngest was 3 at the time. He stood by my side laughing at the bed saying, Mommy, your face looks funny, all squished up under Daddy. And I said a cup of tea would help. Why don't you go and turn on the kitchen and watch some TV?
So really calm, you were really calm about it.
Yes, I was until after.
Until after, yeah. Yeah. So
she did the damage control and then afterwards freaked out a little bit.
You got it. So
and you'd say that's an appropriate response.
Yeah.
Don't freak out or overreact.
Don't freak out about it.
Because it's okay.
It's okay. But depending on the age of your child, depending on when they're going to see it, step number 1 or tip number 1 is you kind of want to downplay it, but don't lie.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't want to lie about it. I think it's really important as parents that we're never lying to our children.
Right.
But we do want to make sure that we're telling them age-appropriate information.
Okay, so you're not lying, but you're not necessarily going into all the intricacies of what happens with adults in that situation.
Yes, as they get older.
Do you use it as a teachable moment and say, well, now's the time we're going to have the sex talk?
Well, you could, and that's actually tip number 3. So you could actually, so that's where it really depends on the age of your child.
Yeah.
You know, because absolutely, if they're like 10 or 12, then if you have not had the talk, that you absolutely want to have the talk.
Right.
Okay. So but when they're little and you just want to, and it also depends on how much they saw. That was the other thing. So when my husband actually talked to my son, he's like, so what did you see? You know, because it does kind of depend on how much you're going to have to explain, right? So, but he saw hugging. So
he saw hugs.
So we
good.
Yes.
We have another another audience member, Amanda, who has actually been through this. So Amanda, what's your story?
It's happened many times over the years. It's mostly heard.
rather than
And this
saw.
is she's walking in on her parents.
On my parents.
On her
my
parents.
parents are now in their 70s. It happened the last time a couple of years ago. I live a couple of doors down. I'm in and out of their house all the time.
Yeah.
I walked in their house and I heard it and I went, oh my God. And just quickly stepped out and I relocked the door and I walked away. And I don't mention it afterwards.
So she's
Unless, of course, they're watching right now.
I know. I'm like,
Now
I sit
she
there like,
knows.
have you ever talked to your parents? She's like, no. I'm like, okay.
I wouldn't either.
You wouldn't?
At this age, no.
Okay, but has it ever happened to you?
No, I've never walked in on them.
And has any of your kids walked in
and
on
the
you?
kids have not walked in on me
Wow,
yet. And I've
okay.
often wondered what I would do.
Well,
I
now-
think probably Leo would go into hysterics. Like, I don't think he'd be calm.
Yeah.
And I think that I would just walk around with covering my face for a week. I don't know how I would handle that. But no,
Yeah.
these are very good tips.
Yeah.
So, and kudos to your parents. They're in their 70s and they have
in
an
the 70s,
active
like going
sex
at it.
life.
I love
Healthy.
that.
How about we give them
Let's
a
do
hand
it.
for that?
Yes, not bad. Yes, we are celebrating. It's awesome. Really? Yeah. They're gonna be like more, your neighbors. Your parents'
proud.
neighbors will be like, your daughter was talking about you on national TV. Yeah.
Listen, great tips. Thank you for that.